Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Okay.
Sumanth.
Yeah, hi. So we'll start the webinar. Some of you have already joined. Okay. So I'm Sumanth Shenoy from Stelna Designs, and we are hosting this webinar. We have been hosting webinars on product development, MEP, manufacturing technologies, etc., since 2024. This is the first webinar this year, the second session of the first webinar this year. And this time we have focused on building MEP, but from the grant perspective. And I'm thankful for KDEM for partnering for being the strategic partner, especially Vaishak from KDEM for facilitating this. So we'll start. We'll start now. So the purpose of this webinar is uh, we have been working with yeah at Stellar Designs. We have been providing product designing services in EV, medtech, machinery, industrial machinery building, and have been supporting the startups and MSMEs in ideation, concept designing, prototyping, and planning the production. And in this journey, we have also worked with few startups who had got grant and used that for implementing. And we have also came across people who came at the stage of the grant where they had burned the grant and prototypes were not ready. And by seeing what was going wrong, whatever the experience we found in that, whatever the experience we got in that process, is what we want to share today. Because is what we want to share today, basically. And as a company, we are also building with these experiences. We are also building processes to facilitate product designing, and also tools like Bhuve, which generates generative CAD models. Now, coming to the today's topic, the foundational problem is uh, we see most of the hardware startups, whether you go through the Kickstarter campaigns or other crowdfunding campaigns, whether grant received startups or the early startups who have uh, announced product launches. The 97% of the product hardware product startups miss the deadlines of launching or miss the deadlines of product launch, and 70% of them never launch itself. This is according to one survey. And the reason being, there are many reasons. The majority of the reason in this context, where people who have got grants or got funding and missed the deadline or failed to launch, is because one major reason is domain knowledge gaps. Uh, got the grant for a particular due to the credentials or due to the gravity of the idea. Say like uh, I normally take one outdoor water filter project example while explaining this. Uh, you claim some ultra different filtration techniques, uh, and you have the credential for that, but you have not assessed the technicalities of implementing it and not done any proof of concept to assess it. Now, when the grant has come, the timelines given, the amount required, the kind of uh, team with skills required, if you don't have access to them, then after getting the grant, if you go searching for it and experiment with different companies or different people, then that process itself will burn the grant. Not having clear idea of MEP, like the first prototype, what are the functionalities must go in, how will you manufacture it or prototype it, what you will do with that prototype, what we will validate. Not having these clarities and not having the right team will end up with the person investing in unnecessary tools, unnecessary outsourcing, unnecessary hiring, and will end up burn the grant in the 18 months grant period. Probably the grant will be burned and there will be half done prototype or no prototype at all. So in this today, we'll see how to assess ourselves whether we are ready, how much are we ready uh, in implementing our product, whether it is feasible or not. how to define a MVP, the first MVP, and what can be the execution plan for that first MVP. And in that execution plan, where will the manufacturing design comes in? And with that experience, how to engage with the vendors. A normal product journey is you have an idea, you do a proof of concept to validate that idea or user. I say, to take an example, right from here, let's take an example of a portable water filter for truckers, for hiking, uh, for outdoor use. Now, we have to see whether there's a need for it or not. For that, launching a survey or doing a mock-up, speaking to people, using the mock-up, whatever is necessary to validate that can be a proof of concept. Then comes the MVP, minimum viable product, where you have to build the hardware prototype which users must use to validate certain things. Then comes the pilot, where it has gone ahead of the MVP, where users have validated it, and you are testing it for early adopters, where testing it for where people will be ready to buy it, and the ones who have bought it, whether they can recommend it to others, what is the experience of them. Uh, what is This is for assessing the path ahead, how you can market it, what should be the how you can plan the production, etc. Then comes the production planning, where you plan the production for thousands or lakhs of pieces. With hardware and software, there is a difference. If you are building a software app and a hardware product, the major difference is the flexibility with software and hardware. Uh, you select certain features. Say you're building an app, you choose a certain software stack, uh, certain hosting platform, cloud, etc. At certain point, whatever the functionalities or features you have thought at the beginning, you have the flexibility to change them easily compared to hardware. You can change at any point. You can introduce the new features. You can change the framework and experiment with it. Hmm. I'm not telling there is no effort involved, but if you compare it with hardware, say with this example of filter, you are using a certain filter, you are using certain way of charging, you are using it a certain form factor. These things, if you want to change it in the prototype, the next prototype will again take, if the first prototype takes 1 or 2 months, then the next prototype might take again same amount of time, and you have to procure the new components for it. Everything involves cost and time compared to software, where even the open source frameworks can be used. The cost involved is lesser compared to hardware, and the flexibility in terms of time involved in making changes is also less. So in the major difference is in software, whatever the functionalities you lock at the beginning, you can easily change them, or there's more flexibility to change them. In hardware, it eats up cost and time if you want to change it. So that's therefore it's very important to define the project requirements, assess your project requirements, assess the problem, assess the project requirements, and define it as in depth as possible. The major aspects which involved is, what are the outcome are you expecting from the project or the prototype you want to do right now, or the product you have in your mind right now. For the example of water filter, an outdoor water filter is what we want to do, where from the outdoor streams of water, you want to filter the water to make it drinkable. Then you have to assess whether are you aware of the science behind the filtration, what can be used, what are the technicalities involved, what are the measurable aspects to say this is a drinkable water, etc., etc. At this point of stage, with the knowledge you have, what is the immediate need for you? Whether is it applying for a patent, applying for a grant, or you have interest from somebody who would like to invest or would like to buy it and test it if there is a prototype. What could be the unit cost for which the user might be interested to buy it. Then comes, these are the major on the surface aspects. Then comes the technical aspects, like what are the functional features, like what is the amount of water, 2 liters, 3 liters, how much it has to filter it at a time, what has to be the volume, the capacity of the filter, how will it get powered, uh, the ruggedness, safety, weight, all these things, functional and non-functional aspects. And then comes the success metrics. How will you assess the success, whether the prototype is success or not? That is how much that can be based on capacity, like how much water it has to filter at one time, what is the uh, parameters it has to pass when tested, uh, and different aspects. These success metrics can be dependent on the user testing and also the functionalities you have uh, decided. We have at Stelna, what we do is we have a function requirement uh, document, and also we have a product readiness document. This product readiness document will share to you today in other 2 days once the after the webinar. This product readiness document has different questions on different aspects of the product, like what is the problem statement, description, category, target user, user environment, and for everything there is option true, false, etc. And this readiness assessment has 5 categories. One is basics, knowledge awareness, functional readiness, non-functional readiness, manufacturing readiness. And relevant questions are asked there. What is the problem statement? Who is the user? What is the functionality, science, materials, supply chain? How will you implement it? IP and everything involved. And here we'll get to answer whether you know it enough or know it partially. Do you need somebody to help you? How did you get the information to tell you don't know, or you know it partially, whether it's through the somebody expert, or you spoke to customers, you assumed through the online data, or you just assumed for yourself. And if you keep answering these things, the core functional readiness, non-functional readiness, etc., this dashboard gives you a readiness chart where you will, while answering itself, you will understand what you know, what you don't know, and what are the aspects have to be considered, and what could be important. The basic things which you have to be clear while starting is, one, who is the user? What is the problem? What is the domain? Who is the user? And normally it's better to narrow down as much as possible. In this case, the water filter case, these are the outdoor people, the long ride bikers, hikers, campers, trekkers, etc. What is the environment it's used? What is the value proposition? How will you assess the success metrics? All these questions or all these fields are for the first prototype you want to make. You have to keep that in mind. Then comes the functional requirements. What are the functionalities? You might have so many functionalities in your mind, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you have to assess whether it is must have or good to have, whether it's a core functionality without which this can't be that product itself, like without filtration, it can't be a filter. Whether it should be there in the prototype or not, like whether the solar panel has to be there in the filter in the first prototype, or you can charge it, you can test it first, do the filtering aspect, figure that out, then you can go for the solar, etc., etc. So you have to be clear of all the functionalities which has to go there, functionalities associated with the prototype. Then you have to assess whether it is a core functionality or secondary or optional. Then comes the non-functional requirements like the weight, safety, durability, compliances involved. Some prototypes, if it has to go, some products, if it has to go to the user's hand, even at the prototype stage, MVP stage itself, especially in the medtech field, certain compliances has to be followed, like medical grade materials has to be there. There should be clinical approval, and for that again there are certain conditions and norms. What have to be aesthetics and all those things. Based on this, you can decide what you can do right now. If you have enough idea, if there is funding, probably you can make a test prototype. If not, you can apply for grants, you can apply for patents. What you want to do, you can decide that. with defining the, so here comes defining the project requirements properly. At this stage, you might have defined it for the prototype itself, or you have generally defined it. And you have decided, okay, I will make the MVP, I will build the prototype. Now we have to understand why MVP. There are different definitions all around, and different people have defined it differently probably. But what I have understood is, and people have defined different aspects of MVPs as well, like minimum viable product, minimum marketable product, minimum grant product, etc., etc. But generally, it's a minimum viable product. And why do you build it? It is to either validate the user need. I mean, get validation from user that yes, it is solving this particular problem, and I have this experience, good experience and bad experience, or to validate certain functionalities. Yes, it is filtering this much water. Now, okay, let's try to go ahead with uh, pilot testing. So it's either to validate the features or to validate the get validation from the user. And normally, what is the core aspect or the riskiest aspects which you doubt that must go in the MVP first? And the need of MVP is to maximize the learning and minimize risk. How the risk will reduce if you get validation from the user on the features, functionalities, the experience, and all those things. And if you have got uh, if you have tested the functional feature like the filtering in this outdoor filter, you'll get certain confident that okay, this now this has worked. This could be the potential cost for making this kind of filter. uh, I can reach out to these people uh, to assess early adaptation, like whether they would like to buy it or not. Probably if I can get in this particular format as per the user feedback, probably I can go to these dealers, or I can sell through these channels, or I can apply for this kind of grants, etc., etc., etc. So this gives you so many information when you do the MVP, and that helps you to assess the further path. If you don't do this and directly invest the money in prototype, I have few examples in the presentation where you will understand what will happen. So need of MVP is find your user base, get the feedback, validate the market potential, iterate or pivot to decide whether we have to stop it here only, whether it is not worth doing further, there is no need, or whether we have to pivot. Uh, Instead of solar charging, probably you go with the, please mute Mahentesh. If you take the example of electric scooter, probably whether we have to go ahead with the electric scooter or go with the micro electric utility like kick scooter, etc., etc. Like whether you have to pivot or not. And these MVPs has to be time bound and fund bound. With this much amount only, I have to get this out, and within 3 months, 4 months, or within 3 to 6 months, I have to get the MVP out. Core functionalities, the critical user interaction must go in the MVP, and you should be clear of how will you prototype it, in what materials, what technology will prototype it. Then only the design has to be started. The aesthetic aspects, the non-critical features, good to have features, must not be there in the first MVP. I'll give you 3 examples where people have done it successfully and unsuccessfully. It's not the success or failure of people. These are the right and wrong decisions, or the due to the information you had at that time with which you took the decision has made the product to go in the right path, or failed it. Failed it in the sense you have lost the money or time. This is there one company, a startup in Bangalore called IX Electronics. They were into embedded system design and services. And these people came across Cashew Industry Association, and those people shared a problem to them, which was in the peeling process of the cashew. The hard cashew is first cooked, then cut, then the skin is peeled, after which it becomes eatable. Now in the peeling process, earlier people used to hand peel it. Now the machines have come where through the compressed air chamber, the compressed air is passed and the skin washes away. In that process, if the nut is hard, nut breaks. If the nut is soft, then only skin peels. If the nut is too soft, then it might spoil due to lack of uh, enough due to more humidity or moisture. Now, in that case, people wanted to measure the moisture and quantify it. Like what is the right amount of moisture required to get the nut peeled. And with every batch, they wanted to test it. So what these people did is they took some sample uh, cashew nuts, processed cashew nuts from the people, and they first figured out, okay, they found there is a problem and people are ready. They want a solution for it because people have invested crores of rupees in the machine, but uh, with these silly problems, they are losing money due to the degraded quality of cashew. So these people first figured out how a certain amount, say on 500 grams of cashews with the certain sizes. In 500 gram, there will be 100 pieces or 50, 80 pieces of cashew. How to measure the moisture of all those cashews? They figured that first. After figuring out that, they spoke to people and they came up with the proof of concept. That proof of concept, or it was proof of concept and MVP. We can say it was the MVP only, which was like this. And they demoed it to the association. And one of the person from the association showed interest in that, and he told, okay, at this point, it seems useful for me. He tested it, and he told, you build hundreds of it. I will test it in my factory because this is a small sensor. Considering the amount of cashew they process, multiple sensors are needed. And so he asked them to build 100 sensors, and he using in his factory and in his uh, fellow association members factory. And that industrialist himself funded for all the components for building the whole 100 batch of sensor. See, here comes the success of that MVP. They first figured out the core functionality. They figured out the science behind it, which is how to sense the moisture. Then they build the form factor of the sensor. They figured out how to power it, how to communicate with the user, etc., etc. Then that validated, then went to the user. He validated it. Yes. Now the output is giving us enough information to take measurable changes, measurable decisions, to giving measurable information using which we are taking decisions which are giving us the output, giving us the necessary outcome. And he himself ordered 100 pieces. Now that brought in the success of this MVP, gave them user validation, the outcome validation, and got them fund. This is not from grant, but this is from the customer himself. At that point of time, they had collaborated with us, and we had made production planning, where to procure the materials, how to build the plastic components, and all those things. And all these, the 100 batches, 100 pieces were manufactured in 20, 30 batches. And in every batch, there used to be some small changes to improve the product. And all of these were 3D printed. It was not injection molded, nothing. The whole amount of money they had spent on injection 3D printing for 100 pieces, the injection molding mold cost itself would have been more. So here, after the 100 pieces were sold, these people found that this is a very niche market. Once the components are sold, the customer will not come back to them. And there is no hook where they can give the subscription and all those things immediately to hook the customer to themselves. Because whatever is there in the feature at that point of time is giving enough information to the customer. And so they found the market potential. They can't just bank upon this product to make huge sales or scale it in this product direction. But they also found there are multiple other use cases, like this can be used for paddy, coffee, groundnut, etc. And for everything, the few sensing aspects and software has to be changed. This way, this company validated a product through first MVP, got funding from the user itself to take it to the market, and from the market they understood the potential of the product and took a decision that whenever the order comes in the current process of production in the 3D printing and whatever we are doing, that only we will do. We will not go for high production because this is a very slow moving product, and there are interest from there is adaptability in other domains, but again there also the same problem can be there. And if there is a channel, then we will go ahead with it. And this I feel is a successful MVP they had done and validated and found a path ahead. And all of this was done in 6 months. This is the second that was a success. This year I'm highlighting a few challenges and hurdles the person had faced in this product. Yeah, this was from a veteran engineer around 60, 70 years of age. He was in the industry for a long time. And this person had, during Corona, found that lack of mates was causing problem in cleaning the house. And he thought, okay, let me make a automatic mop, where there will be motor, there will be mop rotating around, and you just have to use a stick has to be connected to it, and a old person or a pregnant woman can also go around home and clean it. This was his assumption. With that, that person made a prototype, chose the motor, the component, and all those things. And at that time, he had worked with us for making had come to us directly for making mold for the injection molding. Because at that point of time, in 1.5 months, Dasra was coming and then Deepavali is coming. So he thought we can find a dealer and we can sell it. And they invested money in making the injection mold, the molds tools. We had suggested that why not make it in 3D printing or injection vacuum casting. First, assess with the users who had told you, yeah, if this is working, because he had spoken to few people, but they were majority of his friends and family. So in that way, he went ahead with the injection molding, and around 5-6 lakhs of cost was there for the making the injection mold. Then after that, finding the dealer, or while speaking with the dealers, different people were pointing out different problems with it. At some point of time, he found out that with this current mold, with this current form factor, and with this current features, this won't go ahead. And after that, he reiterated, and 3 more iterations happened with that product. But more than 2-3 years gone by this point of time. This happened because they skipped MVP. They skipped due to which they skipped user validation. They skipped pilot testing. Directly went for production and lost good amount of time and money. And here comes this third example. This is from a company startup from Manipal, run by Srikanth Shenoy, which is developing AI-assisted sports training platform, and they are starting with the badminton. And these people have got Nidhi SSP grant and Elevate 2025, and we are fortunate that we were part of certain the hardware implementation aspect of this in certain aspects, in product design, industrial design aspects. And here they had started with the app, where it was assessing the players' movements and giving them the feedback, giving them the ways to improve their game. And they immediately found, and they had coaches partnered with them. One of the co-founder was a coach. They knew prominent names around, and through that they got the validation quickly that there should be a machine. There should be somebody who have to be playing with the player than an app assessing the player. And then they went ahead with the making the machine. They got an SSP grant, got the Elevate grant, and this has been in 2024 December or something. Today we are speaking in January 2026. They had made 4 iterations of the product, and this is one of the iterations which you are seeing on the screen. But now the product is like this, which is a compact product, uh, which is in the validated by the customer, and which is at the stage of selling to the customer. And now they are in the production planning. In this case, what clicked was the quick decision making in terms of choosing the components, changing the components, choosing the right partners, uh, investing, uh, choosing the right features, prioritizing it, finding. There have been challenges in finding the vendors, finding the components, and all those things. But quick decision from the founder, investing it in the uh, operating with the time-bound manner, has helped them right now to come up with working prototype. And right now they are in the production planning of how to manufacture each components, where to assemble, where to assemble, etc., etc. And soon they will be launching by the first half of this year. With this, we have come. I have covered almost all the aspects of MVP. Like you have to assess yourself for the readiness of implementation. The project requirements have to be clear. Why you are building the MVP, that has to be clear, whether it's for user validation or functional validation. Then while building the MVP, the features have to be locked in the beginning, can't be changed immediately. So that you have to be careful, and you have to be clear of what are the core functionalities, how will you validate it, and how will you manufacture it as well. Then only the design has to be started, whether it is mechanical design or the electronics design. Based on that only, we will choose what are the off-the-shelf components we'll buy, what are the custom manufacturing we will do, etc., etc. With that, with user validation, this will define the next iteration and next path. In my opinion, if you say have got 30, 40, or 50 lakhs of grant for a period of 12 months or 18 months, then at least 2 iterations of the prototype has to be done by the end of the grant period. One, to assess the yourself that okay, these core functionalities can be, you can achieve the certain outcomes from the core functionalities. And then the second has to be where it will go to the, at least go with the hands of the customer. The first prototype, you will assess the functional readiness and you use it yourself. But the second has to be go to at least go to the user's hands. This has to be the goal. And with that goal, at least we'll reach somewhere there. Uh, Now I will just touch a bit on the manufacturing aspects as well. When you do the prototype, you have clarity on the functionalities, but if you don't consider what are the components involved, what components will buy from the will be bought off the shelf, and what will manufacture. If you are manufacturing for this MVP, this prototype, how will you manufacture? Whether you will 3D print, whether you use sheet metal, or you will CNC, vacuum casting, injection molding, etc., whatsoever, whatever the availability, how will you manufacture it? This will define, this will give you an idea of which vendor to, how to find the vendor, where will you find the vendor, what can be time taken to get this done. At this point of time, whether you have to go with that technology which can take say 15 days, then say vacuum casting which can take 15 days, then 3D printing which can be done in 3 days or 2 days. Majority of the times, what people do is just because of the finishing or the certain color they want with the prototype, they will opt something else. They want injection molding kind of finishing and go with the, even though it's not necessary, go with vacuum casting, waste 15 days instead of getting it done with the 3D printing itself. And in certain cases, going with CNC rather than using sheet metal fabrication. In PCB, if the two layers is there for quick prototype, then focusing more on the form factor than getting the PCB done, even though it is a two-layer PCB and a little bigger circuit board, that can help you validate certain functionalities. But if you want to go ahead with the optimizing it and reducing the form factor, spend more 3-4 days more or 1 week more and get it done from PCB power Reliance PCB, that might eat up a lot of time. So it's very important that how will you fabricate the prototype. You have to decide before you start designing. And you also have to consider what are the tolerances involved in these prototypes, where it can go wrong, what are the advantages for you at this point. If you want to manufacture 10 or 15 more, whether this same thing can be used or not, such things can also be evaluated. If you have clarity on these things only, then you can speak with vendors properly and get proper information from them. If you, for example, if there is a medical device and you don't have clarity on what is the compliances involved, what are medical grade materials and non-medical grade materials, or what is the medical grade compliance applied for that particular product, whether it could be non-invasive or invasive, etc., etc. And if you direct approach the vendor with the product and you assess the, say you have the design or you don't have the design, in both the cases, the information you get from the vendor could be different. If you have a CAD model, if you have a manufacturable model, if you have assessed, have an idea on the necessary material required, then the cost given by the vendor, the timeline given by the vendor, and design changes suggested by the vendor could be different. If you don't have the design but have an image, you have some idea of the material specifications but don't know any material names, the answer from the vendor will be different. In this case, what we do normally is after the concept design, we assess the manufacturability, and in what technology we can manufacture and speak with the vendor. Else, this is one approach. The second approach is you get design done from the experts who have knowledge of manufacturing and who have experience in making these things and can take decisions quickly than you yourself going to vendors and find out yourself. So while speaking with vendors, it's always better to have the manufacturable file, the CAD models or step files, IGS files, have clarity on how you assemble each subsystems, each components, what are the machine materials involved, uh, what are the compliances involved, based on which you can choose the right technique, the right vendor, and get right information from the vendor. And with this, we have come to the end of the webinar. And whatever I have shared now is through our experience of working with our clients, our fellow founders, and my also the output from my fellow colleagues as well. And in this aspect, at Stelna Designs, how we work normally is we first share whoever comes up with an idea to us or want to work with us. We share the product readiness to them. Product readiness checklist, which I had showed you earlier.
Hey, Sumanth, you are on mute.
Yeah. We normally suggest the customer or anybody who comes to us to discussing these things, we give them this checklist to assess themselves. This assessment itself will give a lot of clarity on what we know, what we don't know, how much we are ready, how much we are not ready. And with that only, you will get an idea of whether you have to go ahead with the prototype or apply for grant or scrap this up. Some clarity it might give. If there is clarity, then the second step, what we do is we sit with them for an hour and assess the product and define what could be the MVP features. And at that time, they find confident, then only we suggest, okay, let's do the one MVP sprint of getting one prototype in next 2-3 months. I'm not speaking about the moonshot projects or very complicated scientific um, aspects involved projects. These are application specific projects. The MVP sprint, within 2-3 months, the prototype must be ready. The design and MVP has to be ready. And if that is done, and if it has got the user validation, then we can assess whether we have to go for production or what kind of production, what is the market capability, as I told in the iXitronics example. And this is how we work with our clients. And I suggest you also, what I'm trying to tell here is, if you are not ready, we normally don't push them. Rather, we try, point them to the necessary path. Like, okay, you right now, I think you are there is no clarity in the who is your user or the what are the functionalities involved, what is the science behind it. There are gaps in these aspects. Better to figure that first. Probably at this point you can apply for a painted, etc. And we don't forcefully do the prototyping. After this webinar, we'll be sharing the product readiness checklist. And many of the participants had found that they are either ideating or building a hardware product. I think that can be very helpful for you yourself to assess it, especially if you're applying for a grant, or if you have applied for a grant and got the grant, it will help you in deciding the MVP. So the key takeaways are the early decisions, early features you decide before starting the MVP matters the most because you can't change it. There should be a focus on why you are building this MVP. It's to validate the functionalities or validate the to get validation from the user. And you have to be clear on how you manufacture it before starting the design. If these are done, the probability of success is what we have experienced. I thank everybody for joining us today, and those who have joined, we would like to extend a free product readiness assessment. Whoever has joined, only if you feel there is product readiness checklist through the product readiness checklist, you have found okay, we can build a prototype. And if you want to get a free assessment of what can be MVP, what can be the features, what can be the path ahead, we can provide 1 hour session for that. This is for the ones who have participated in the today's webinar. The main intention of this webinar was not selling our services, but it was more on telling our experience that if you have got a grant, you are lucky enough that you have got an opportunity to implement your idea. So if you end up by the end of 12 months or 18 months, if you end up with no prototype in your hand, you have lost that opportunity. With certain changes, with certain mindset, if you approach it, having clarity on features, whatever I had told as of now, the probability of success is more, that getting prototype or at least 2 iterations of prototypes is more. And that can define the further path of the prototype, especially when you have grant in your hand, when you have fund in your hand. So with that, I would like to conclude the webinar. I wish everybody that whatever the products you are working on, let you get the grant and assess it assess it and build successful products. With this, I'm open for questions. I apologize, I took little more time. We have 10 more minutes. So if there are any questions you can ask, or you can also, if you are working on any product and want to ask specific aspects or questions related to that product linking to this webinar, that also we can do.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sumant, will you also help in dealing with certification and other aspects of compliances once the design is ready?
The certifications we don't directly help, but we have partners who can help you. IP partners we have and certification partners we have.
Okay. If you have an IP,
Yeah, we have a IP partner
hey,
associated with us.
okay. Okay. Already we have an IP.
Okay. You have
Uh,
an IP, but you want the compliances certifications to be done for that.
yes, yes,
Is it?
yes. Our prototype is also ready.
Okay.
So we are looking for validation
What
and
compliances are you looking for?
yeah.
Or probably we can connect after the webinar.
Okay, if you can share your number, it will be nice. Mail ID or your number.
Sure.
Okay.
Um, I'll share in the chat.
Okay.
I've shared my contact number and mail ID in the chat. There's one question in the chat that how evaluators usually look at readiness of MVP in grant reviews. See, this depends on different grants. Uh, but in the majority of the cases, we had also applied for Elevate grants and all, and built on the review, feedback from people who had got the grants. What we have seen is first they will look at whether you have a clear idea of how will you make the prototype. Whatever I had given in the product readiness checklist. If you have an answer for all those things, then you are ready to answer the evaluators in the grant in terms of MVP readiness. And also the team capabilities can also be evaluated. Will also be evaluated. You're not from the domain and you are claiming to be doing something in that domain. If you are a doctor and you are planning to build a medical device, then they will tell who will do the engineering. They'll ask. So there should be somebody in your team, or you yourself must be having some experience or previous experience to convince them that. Or you might also tell, I will go for outsourcing. So if these things are whatever I have told so far on the product readiness, the functional readiness, non-functional readiness, the knowledge which you have to have, all those things, if you have answer for that, then we'll have enough answers for the questions of the evaluators. If there are no more questions, I would quickly ask Vaishak from KDEM. I first thank him for facilitating the partner for our webinar through the KDEM by being the strategic partner. And KDEM is one of the implementing agencies of Elevate and all those things and many more initiatives in Karnataka. I would just quickly request him to tell a bit about KDEM and how startups can benefit from it.
Right. Thank you, Sumanth. It was a great, insightful session. I myself learned quite a bit. Um, yes, I am from software background, but knowing the hardware side of things also is a plus point. And yes, it was a great session. Um,
Thank
I'll
you.
just switch on my video. Guys, quickly introducing myself. My name is Vaishak, and I have recently been associated with KDEM, and I'm heading the entire cluster, that is the Mangaluru cluster, which involves Mangalore, Udupi, and the Uttar Kannada district as well. Here to support everybody in terms of startup IT ecosystem and GCCs, as well as KDEM anyways does a lot of program for talent acceleration as well. So happy to be a part of this. To just give you a background of myself, I have over 16 years of experience in IT ecosystem. um, I have my company, Seven Technologies, which is currently running, but then decided to give my time to Mangaluru ecosystem as well, so that I can give back to the society or give back to Mangalore, and develop that place where I was born and raised. So yes, to give you a quick bit of KDEM, KDEM is a Karnataka government initiative. It's 100% backed by government of Karnataka, and we bridge gaps between industry, academia, and the government. We are a bridge between industry and the government when it comes to policies and what to do, what not to do. And when we talk about academia and the industry, we are a bridge between academia and industry to again reduce the gap between what has been taught in academia and what the industry requires. um, that's typically what KDEM does. KDEM comes out or handholds a lot of policy making or policy decisions, which is favorable to talent acceleration, which is favorable to startups, which is favorable to ITs and GCCs, and a part of electronic semiconductor design as well. So it gets into ESDM as well. So we have these different verticals. Recently, there has been a lot of push for beyond Bengaluru, if you guys have noticed, and there have been three to four clusters that have been emerging, and it has been marked as emerging clusters, in which Mangaluru cluster is one of them, and it's being supported by many industry anchors, also district administrations, as well as the academia. So we are doing pretty well in terms of emerging cluster. A lot of companies that have been there as in the ecosystem from really long time, as well as new. We are trying to bring in new IT companies or GCCs to that fact, and hoping we have much more better future for Mangaloreans or more of the residents of the Silicon Beach area, the coastal Karnataka, to have their future here itself than going to Bengaluru or any other cities. So we are working quite hard to bring that ecosystem over here. Uh, while this is what KDEM does or this is what we do, um, I would specifically want to highlight today's event, which is more to do with the startup ecosystem. Uh, for everybody who is present over here or otherwise who are going to preach their students or their friends and family, I would like you all to take notice that Karnataka government does a lot for startups. There's a lot of incentives and programs that are run by KDEM, by government of Karnataka in terms of um, a lot of programs that are run in terms of tech acceleration, in terms of startup ecosystem, in terms of acceleration networks. Incubation also are funded. As Suman said earlier, there are a lot of grants that are involved as well. Quickly, just telling you guys in a nutshell that there's a lot of programs that are being run. Please look into these incentives or policies that come out. Everybody can go on to the KDEM website or ITBT website, and you yourself can look into it. But otherwise, just to give an overview of what we do. In terms of incubation, we have a lot of incubators. Nain also is funding a lot of incubation. We have Elevate grant up to 50 lakhs. We have a new grant that is just been introduced, that is Elevate Next, which is into deep tech. If you have a deep tech startup, then Elevate Next is what you can apply for, which is a 1 CR grant. We have for those who don't know, who are already registered as a startup in Karnataka. There's a program, acceleration program, that is being run with the Derby and Shine Foundation here in Mangaluru. Um, it's a Karnataka acceleration. It's the second cohort that they are running. First cohort is already completed, and there is 5 more to go. And the one that is taking applications are the cohort 2, and it was last date was January 15th, but it has been extended to January 30th because of the demand. So please kindly apply for that. If you want to know further, I will just drop a link over here. You can just click on that link, and you can go through and apply for it. The startups that are accepted in this, first of all, it is free, and you will understand how from POC you can literally accelerate your startup. Um it's a 3 to 4 months program where you will be taught about all the details of acceleration, and it's completely free of cost. And selected startups will have it free of cost. Okay, and it is being run by Derby Foundation and Shine Foundation in Mangaluru itself. So this is the acceleration part. Then obviously, we will come on to the incentives part as well. Um, Currently, there are quite some incentives that are being run for the startups. Okay, understand that startup. When you say startup, it is a newly incorporated. It's a newly incorporated organization running on maybe very low number of people, or also the fact that it's a new technology or something that is unique. Okay, so once you have registered your startup, for next 3 years or first 3 years, uh, government of Karnataka, if you are incubated in any of the government of Karnataka supported incubators or CIFs, 100% of your annual state GST will be reimbursed. Okay, so there is a reimbursement incentive. Then there is also marketing cost reimbursement. So if let's say you have a little bit of marketing cost, both global and nationwide, 30% of your actual cost, this includes travel cost as well, up to 5 lakhs is reimbursed. Patent filing, I heard that some people also have done patent filing. So again, patent filing also, for a limit of 2 lakhs, the patent charges are given back as a refund or a reimbursement. um, Quality certifications, most of the startups what we are talking about today in this event, which it's more or less to do with hardware startups, the quality certification, 50% of the cost of the quality certification fee, up to 6 lakhs, has been subjected to a reimbursement as well. So when we come to all the startups, it's not only about what I said earlier, which is acceleration, which is about these incentives, but there are other things as well. There is um, If you talk about seed fund, there is a cluster seed fund that is happening. There is a Kitwin 4 fund which is focusing on animation, visual effects. There is a Kitwin 5 fund which focuses on AI, ML, robotics, EV, which is again a huge
ನಾ
part
ಅವಳು
of it.
ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದು ಸಚ್ಚಿದಾನಂದ ಗೋಪಾಲ್.
Sorry. Right. So startup is a lifestyle. End of the day. So I would consider you guys, if you guys are doing startups, or if your relatives, your friends, anybody is doing startups, please let them know about the government of Karnataka initiatives for startups. There is a lot of reimbursement, which elevates your startup right away in terms of at least P&L. And if we consider CAN, that is the Karnataka Acceleration Network, there's a cohort that is being running right now. Its last application is on 31st. So please go through that and get yourself accelerated. You will have a lot of benefits through this. Last cohort, there were seven startups that were benefited from this in the Mangaluru region, and this time we have over 70 applicants, and I'm hoping we have a lot of push for these startups through acceleration, and we hope to have at least a couple of unicorns from our region along the way, right? So yeah, that's about it. And KDEM, me as a cluster head over here, I am here to fully support you guys. KDEM has a complete uh, you can say a proper book in terms of how we can go ahead with applying for these incentives, and we will track back and make sure that you get those incentives as well. So I'm here. The KDM also is fully supporting all the startups and the ecosystem around over here. And before I complete, also there are a lot of community that works towards this startup. As you know, Tai Mangaluru. We just finished a TiCon 2026. Tai Mangaluru is specifically designed for startups. So if you are a startup and if you are looking for a lot of community engagement, do look into Time Mangaluru, and you will be able to benefit a lot out of the community itself. So yeah, that's about it. If you have anything, you can reach out to me. I will put in my email address in the chat. If you have anything, any questions, you can let me know. I might not be able to address it immediately, but I'll definitely check back with my team and make sure that I help you guys as much as possible. Okay, yeah, that's me. Over to you, Sumanth.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vaishak. If you can put your mail ID also in the chat, it would be helpful. Somebody has asked it. I've shared my contact. Vaishak will also share his mail ID in the chat. I thank Vaishak for sharing the useful information related to grants, etc., and so many other initiatives from the KDEM. With this, I would like to conclude the webinar. And after the webinar, we'll be sharing you the product readiness checklist. Please go through it. I hope it would be helpful for you. I thank again for everybody for joining it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Sumanth.